I know. I said I was done with Bigfoot for a while. But as I combed through hundreds of sightings, photos, and clips, I realized I'd missed some seriously good stuff. Buried gems that are too eerie, too strange, and too convincing to leave behind. So let's fire this back up and give these finds the attention they deserve. And hey, before we dive in, hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments, what unexplained creature should we cover next? Your support keeps this channel alive, and this mystery train rolling. We've all seen grainy trail cam shots before, but this one sparked a years-long debate, and it still hasn't been settled. 6. Trail cam Bigfoot. Starting off today's Bigfoot sightings roll is an oldie, but it's a goodie. It's been hotly debated for years now. The trail cam shot of a figure in the dark has been dissected from every angle. Since it's been around so long, and discussed on just about every forum, it's hard to say which description, name, or location is actually real. So I'm not even going to try to pull those details apart. But I don't think it matters much anyway. I'm sure that whoever this trail cam belonged to didn't stage it, but they didn't catch a Bigfoot. I have two reasons for thinking this. First, the arms are proportionate to a man's. Zoom in on the figure's arm length and gait. Highlight how human the proportions look. Sure, he's tall, but the arms and the stride are congruent with a human's gait and proportions. Secondly, the suit isn't all that uncommon for hunters. There are guys out there who get into get-ups that are much more elaborate than this. Some of them spend days layered up in full camouflage suits to blend into the environment for days at a time. A single blurry photo doesn't justify years of hype. 5. The Adygea region's most famous cryptid. What if I told you one of the most convincing Bigfoot clips came out of Russia and was quietly scrubbed from the internet not long after it aired? The Adygea clip is bizarre, starting with the strange circumstances that surround it. For one, this comes out of Russia, which I love. There are few places in the world more likely to sustain a population of Yeti like Russia can. The vast majority of that country is uninhabitable, unexplored, and so inhospitable that something could definitely be hiding up there without us knowing about it. Then there's the fact that this made it onto the news, but it was soon scrubbed off the records and the internet, which just gets my spidey senses going wild. If the Russian government's willing to make this disappear, there's a good reason for it. Here's where things get really interesting. Let's break down the footage itself. Even though it's not the greatest quality, you can still make out various shades of coloring in the face, lightening on the back and darkening in the fur on the extremities. Paws and slightly enhanced contrast show the difference in fur color between back, limbs, and face. This is congruent with any living animal that has fur, including humans. None of us have uniformly colored hair. Around the face, hands, and feet, it's usually darker, and the parts more exposed to the sun are lighter. The gait is spot on, slightly hunched, with arms as long as its legs. That's not something you'll find in a human. Sure, we cannot see any seams, zippers, or any sign that this is a suit, but the image quality isn't good enough to rule that out. So let's put that fact on the shelf for now. We just can't verify it definitively. The bend in the knee is much more pronounced than is possible for a human, bending at roughly 75 degrees. Slow motion here. Highlight knee angle. It bends far past typical human movement. So unless this is an acrobat in a suit, the leg shouldn't be able to bend farther than 65 degrees for regular people. And here's something most people overlook, but it matters. The creature's lower body is massive, with clearly defined muscle structure, and even the outline of a gluteal crease. That kind of anatomical detail, especially in a figure that's easily 9 feet tall, is rarely, if ever, replicated in costumes. Most suits either exaggerate the upper body or cover everything in thick, uniform fur to avoid the challenge of sculpting realistic proportions. But this looks functional, natural, and honestly, uncomfortably real. If they were going to fuss over the details, why not focus on the face? And across the pond, in another icy expanse well known for Yeti sightings, we get an even better view of what I believe is a bona fide Bigfoot. And since we're on the subject of sightings that managed to make the news, this next one comes out of the USA, and it got its own segment on the 5 o'clock news. 4. Yeti on the news. This next sighting didn't come from a conspiracy forum. It came from the National Weather Service, during a government storm survey. This one happened in Fayette County, Pennsylvania this year. Yep, we've got a fresh one, people. To give you some background on this photo, it was taken during a weather survey earlier this year. It's kind of like the Google Maps car, where drones and vehicles go out, take boatloads of footage, and then it's fed into a system that assesses the damage. And like the Google car, you kind of never know what crazy shenanigans you're going to end up catching. Only this time, it wasn't a hobo in his underwear. It was something a little more sinister than that. Pause on the silhouette. Highlight upright posture and arm swing. A proper Bigfoot, casually strolling through a neighborhood in broad daylight, while everyone was too busy repairing storm damage to notice. Now I'm thinking that there isn't enough time to squeeze yourself into a gorilla getup when your roof's collapsed. It's a great piece of evidence, simply because of the circumstances surrounding it, and the double and triple checking that the news station would have done before publishing it. It gets even better, because we've got another clip captured by an official source. This next one is just as believable. 3. The Yellowstone Pair. When the people capturing the footage are park rangers, trained to know every native species, things start getting real. The Yellowstone National Park Bigfoot, taken in August of 2023, is a doozy. I know a lot of people are going to gripe about the quality, and I won't lie, given that it's pretty recent, I was disappointed too. But the reason I'm a fan of this is because it was submitted by park rangers. These guys wouldn't have bothered filming something if it weren't out of the ordinary. They know the difference between a bear, a moose, and a bipedal hairy thing that doesn't belong there. If you talk to any ranger in Yellowstone, they'll tell you, this park's full of strange, unexplained things. I might just have to dedicate an entire video to that park alone. The amount of paranormal activity there is just insane. My one hiccup with this does not lie in the quality, it lies in the spacing between the creatures. Two creatures moving pretty fast, surely faster than a human could, are obviously in a hurry. I'd expect them to move closer together. Even animals know that there's safety in numbers after all, especially out in an open plain. But other than that, it's a very convincing piece of evidence. The source is believable. The speed that they're moving with takes it out of the range of human capability, and they definitely seem to be walking upright. Zoom in, track both figures, and emphasize their speed and upright movement across the plain. Can't say the same for number 2, but before we get there, quick check-in. Have you seen something we should cover? Drop it in the comments, or send it in. Some of the wildest footage I've ever reviewed has come straight from viewers like you. 2. A sprinting juvenile. Some clips are just too smooth, too polished, and this one raises every red flag. But it's still worth a closer look. Sadly, this one is almost certainly fake. Zoom in on the figure's proportions. Head-to-body ratio is clearly human. But you know me, I can appreciate the hoaxes too. Firstly, there's no description, name or date that I can find associated with this footage, so it can't be verified. And then there's the size comparison. Internet sleuths put this ginger beast inside the average height of a human male, albeit on the shorter side of average. Hey, it can certainly be a juvenile specimen, but it puts this into the easily fakeable sphere, I'm afraid. Unfortunately, the movements can be replicated by a man, so there isn't much here that I can prove or disprove. It's a fun little clip though, I can give it that much. This next one? It almost slipped through history without a trace, and if it wasn't for the sharp eyes of the very child in the video who saw it 17 years later, we'd never have been made aware of one of the most convincing pieces of evidence in the Bigfoot community to date. 1. Mono Lake's Bigfoot. Imagine recording a family vacation only to find, 17 years later, a shadowy figure watching your kids from behind the rocks. The Mono Lake Sasquatch is a famous clip, and I can't believe I missed it before. So, to give you some background, this was filmed back in 1991 by a science teacher while he and his family were on vacation. Much like some of my favorite overlooked finds, this one sat untouched for years, gathering dust before anyone ever realized there was something on it. A whole 17 years of going completely unnoticed. That's until one of the little children, now all grown up, picked it up and rewatched some of their family's memories in 2008. The teacher's daughter realized that there was something very frightening watching them from behind a clump of rocks, and subsequently uploaded the video to the internet. Pause here. Highlight shadow behind the rocks. Adjust contrast slightly to show figure's shape. You already know where I'm going with this, I love it. There was no money made from it. The beach had no other people on it that I could see. The family doesn't realize that there's a massive, dark, hairy thing just a few yards away from them, or those little kids would have been scared to death. And most of all, this went completely under the radar for almost 2 decades before anyone realized that there was one of the world's most authentic Bigfoot sightings on it at all. Those were 6 of the wildest Bigfoot moments I've seen lately. And believe me, the vault is still full. So if you're into this kind of thing, you'll want to stick around. Got a favorite sighting? A viral fake you can't stand? Drop it in the comments. I read everything, and sometimes your tips lead to the next big video. Until next time, stay alert. And if you catch a shadow just beyond the trees, don't assume it's your imagination. You're not losing your mind. Something is out there. Stick around. What's coming next might be even stranger.